Welcome into the Gridiron Grind. 3-3, Jimmy G. We're back. Had to take a week off. It was Thanksgiving. Family stuff gets in the way. But we're back. And Jimmy, I had a glorious Thanksgiving weekend. How was yours?
Yeah. It was I had a lot of good food.
Yeah.
A lot of good food, watched depending on who you ask, watched a lot of good football.
Yeah.
So
It
I
reminded
enjoyed it.
me to start the show with a little trivia. It reminded me of a comical little movie made in 2015 between Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. What's the title of that movie?
I don't know, Trey. What's the title of that movie?
Daddy's Home, Jimmy. Daddy's Home. If you hadn't seen it, go watch it, or just watch the replay of the Longhorns smack down to the Aggies 17-7. Jimmy, it was glorious. I'm not gonna lie. We did last time we played was 2011, and then A&M goes to the SEC. And for 13 years, all the Aggie fans would talk about was Texas couldn't handle the SEC. Not SEC ready. Couldn't handle the grind of the schedule. Just too much. The trenches. Oh, you wouldn't believe the line of scrimmage here in the SEC. Texas could never. We're better now. We're better than Texas. Forget our history of Texas dominating this series. We're better now. We run the state. I mean, all of that. Just 13 years of hearing nothing but chatter, Jimmy. It's like they forgot what had happened in 13 years. One night, College Station, all that comes crumbling down as the Longhorns come back.
And I told you.
Stuff the Aggies in their locker.
And I told you when the merger got announced, Texas and OU coming over, I said, Texas is trajecting up. Texas isn't always going to be bad. I go, the team that needs to be concerned is Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I said it on the show before. I said Oklahoma's about 2 bad seasons away from becoming Nebraska.
Well, they've had one.
It's kind of being one of those teams where you're just like, oh yeah, I remember them. Texas was on the way up, coming into the SEC. I said it's a great time to go if you're Texas, right?
Yep.
And now, like we said, the Aggies take a big recruiting blow.
Mm-hmm.
Really, a lot of the teams in the nation, especially the SEC, but especially Texas A&M, take a big recruiting blow, or took a big recruiting blow when Texas joined, because that was a big advantage. There were years where the SEC top to bottom was the best conference. You always had Vanderbilt. Of course, this year you can't say that. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina, some years Arkansas, some years, Missouri. But that was a big recruiting, tool for a lot of teams to go, hey, come to the SEC. Look, you're going to be playing against probably the eventual national champion. Come play in the best conference. And so once Texas joined, now kids can go, oh, so I can go to Texas and I can play in the SEC and I can check all these boxes, and I don't have to leave the state. So why would I go anywhere else? And so I think that's what we're seeing. The game, to me, I'm sitting here going, okay, why, if you're Mike Elko, it reminded me of the Big 12 championship, TCU. Why do you take the ball out of Max Duggan's hands? Why? It's dumb. Why did you take the ball out of Reed's hands, the guy that got you there, and you're going to take the goal
line?
You're going to run power 4 times when you've been able to run on them all game, unless it was with the quarterback. Yeah, all game, and you run that 4 times. Terrible. That's on Collins line or Mike Elko, one of the two.
That like you said, they get the block punt and they get down. They lost yardage and they ran like a tight end screen, and that got them to like the 5. They ran the first play Reed, and he gained like 2 or 3 yards. But then they went up the middle 3 times in a row. Second down, maybe a yard. Third down, they got nothing. And fourth down, and I'm sitting here just like contain the edge, because here comes Reed, contain the edge.
Yeah.
Nope. They go power, and the way Texas defensive line was playing all night, they went power, and Ethan Burke came rushing off the edge for a loss. I tell you,
I was sitting in my living room. Go ahead.
well, I was just saying, as a Texas fan, that win over A&M, it felt like the 49-0 win over Oklahoma from 2022. It was just because Oklahoma had blown us out so many times over the last 20 years. And it was just finally, Texas just unloaded so much animosity in 49-0 2 years ago. It's the same thing this year. Hadn't played A&M for 13 years. They'd been talking, oh, we're better than the SEC. And then they're like, got to have the game in Kyle Field. We got to play first one, got to be in College Station. And Texas goes in there and really dominates. If it wasn't for Quinn Ewers, that thing would have got way worse.
And
that win feels so good as a Texas fan.
Yeah, and Sonny Dykes probably is just now not having nightmares of taking the ball out of Max Duggan's hands. And if I'm Mike Elko and Colin Klein in my sleep, because I'm telling you, on that fourth down play, I'm sitting here and I'm going, this is going to be RPO, a naked boot. This is going to be something, one of those where a tight end peels off in blocking and you're going to make the defender choose, do I guard the tight end or do I go after Reed? I said, something. They're going to put the ball in Reed's hands. And when they handed the ball off up the middle, I mean, to me, it happened in slow-mo. And I imagine it was you too, because you're going, and then I couldn't believe it. Absolutely could not believe it. That to me was crazy. Just absolutely crazy. And I know it's easy to Monday morning quarterback this thing. What are we, Thursday evening quarterbacking this thing? But again, you tell me what you saw unbiasedly. No one in their right mind can tell me that through all four quarters, you saw, well, A&M had success running up the middle on them all game. I'm surely they could have gotten 2 yards on it. Absolutely not. They hadn't been able to run up the gut on Texas all game. All game. Crazy. That's terrible play calling. Again, that's either on Colin Klein or Mike Elko for not saying, hey, we need to do something. Like Colin, just super frustrated if you're an Aggie, and it's perfect.
The old adage,
that's appropriate if you're
if we can't get a yard, we don't deserve to win. But that is just terrible thinking, because you hadn't, in crucial moments like that, it wasn't like that was the first time on fourth down you went for it. You did it earlier in the game. The first drive of the game, it was 4th and 1, and you tried to block Barron Sorrell, who will be an NFL defensive end next year. You tried to block him with your backup tight end, and he just demolishes the guy on the very first 4th down of the game on that first drive and makes a play in the backfield. You weren't getting those yards the entire game. And that was a bad play call. It really was.
It's a terrible play call. And, the message boards, the clips that I've seen from the message boards were wild. Like they're upset that McConaughey was allowed on the field. Why was McConaughey ever allowed on the field? And what a wild weekend, by the way, with all the fights.
Yeah.
And then I kept going, oh boy. I said, Texas. I thought, they had a lot more to play for, I think, than some of those other schools. But I'm going, Ohio State's still very much in it. But when Michigan beat them, I get it. Michigan didn't have anything to play for, But I go, Texas has a lot to play for. So I get why they didn't. But the back of my mind, I kept going, okay, now is the camera going to stay on it long enough? Because I can really see, like you said, all the mess. We got 13 years leading up to this, and they started to go out there, and I Sark come and tell them, no.
Good call.
Get out of here. And I thought that was definitely the best move.
Yeah.
100%. Like I said, you can ask Ohio State, Michigan, golly, South Carolina.
Yeah. North Carolina.
Balls all over the place.
Arizona State. A lot of fights. Speaking of that Michigan, That Michigan Ohio State, that was the biggest stunner, I think, of the weekend. Michigan was 6-5 coming in. And this was supposed to be Ohio State's chance. Michigan won 3 in a row. Now they win this week. They go 4 in a row. This was supposed to be Ohio State's chance to get some redemption after 3 in a row. Michigan goes in to Ohio State and beats them. Missed field goal by Ohio State. Michigan had the quarterback had one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. A guy wide open, but instead he throws it right to a defensive lineman. But there's a funny stat, Jimmy. Only one player in Ohio State's, they've lost 4 in a row. Only one player in Ohio State's 2021 recruiting class has beat Michigan.
Impossible. There's no way. You just said they lost 4 in a row, Trey.
They did.
How can this be? How can someone from the 2021 recruiting class for Ohio State have beaten Michigan when Ohio State just went 4-0?
Quinn Ewers, quarterback at Texas, beat Michigan earlier this year. He's the only member of the 2021 Ohio State recruiting class to beat Michigan. Had to transfer out of Ohio State first to do it, but that's a wild stat.
And that more so, I know it's not really any consolation to Aggies, but you could be Ohio State. You could literally have the best recruiting class or the top 3 recruiting class every year and never get it done. Never get it done. Ever. I mean, This guy had C.J. Stroud, Jackson Smith in Jigba,
Garrett Wilson,
Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson, all on the same team.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't do anything with it. I'm going Ryan Day. That guy he's lucky he's not fired.
He's got a Michigan problem. That's for sure.
That was a pretty wild stat. Quinn Ewers is the only person from Ohio State's 2021 recruiting class to have beaten Michigan.
Yeah, that's crazy. This weekend, it was a great weekend of college football. I guess start with a bang on Friday. You had Georgia Tech, 8 overtimes, and Georgia Tech outplayed Georgia for over 3.5 quarters. And then Georgia gets a score. Georgia Tech's trying to milk the game away. A hard hit from Georgia. Fumble. Hayes King fumbles. Georgia goes in and scores with little time left, ties it up. Go back and forth. Georgia Tech had so much success running the football. They didn't attempt one run in 8 overtimes. I don't know how. Well, they might have the first drive, but on their when they were trading 2 points, they didn't attempt a run not one time. They were averaging 5-6 yards a carry, and the ball's at the 3 to start every overtime, and they never attempted a running play. It just blew my mind. I'm sitting there screaming, run the ball. I know you only get one shot at it when you're trading 2 points, but just run the ball. You're averaging 6 yards a carry for the whole game. The quarterback run game was killing them. But credit to Georgia. They hung in there. They ended up winning the game in 8 overtimes. I tell you what, they have not looked great to me all year. They've been up and down. I will say, though, they played their best game of the year against Texas, and that defense dominated Texas back on October 19th. We'll see which Georgia we get. I think you can depend on Texas's defense being Texas defense. It's the number 1 defense in the country. It's the number 1 pass defense in the country. I think they definitely lead the SEC in interceptions. Carson Beck threw 3 the first time around. I think you can depend on Texas defense being ready. But it's what Quinn Ewers are you going to see? What Georgia defense are you going to see? Georgia defense numbers-wise are not good, but they really took it to Texas the first time they played. And what Carson Beck, Georgia offense, are you going to see? I'm excited for that game. That's going to be a big one. It's conference championship week. It's going to be a couple of them are winner gets in. It starts Friday night. Mountain West, you got UNLV, Boise State. Winner gets in on that one. They'll be the group of 5 team. Then Saturday morning, Iowa State and Arizona State. Winner gets in, and it appears that loser doesn't have a chance. What do you think? College Football Playoff Committee basically said Alabama's getting in almost basically regardless. SMU's got to win to get in. If they lose, I guess there's a case that SMU should be the last team in. But I think the committee is basically saying Alabama's getting in. What do you think about that?
And this is always going to be the human element, right? It's in baseball, it's the the Jim Joyce against Galarraga. The guy is 3 foot off and it's safe. Should have been, or was out and should have been safe. Safe should, whatever it is. And then I'm going, it's the strike of way too far on the outside. It's the BCS all over again. It's all this stuff. Okay. I personally don't think Alabama should be in.
I don't either.
We go back to Florida State last year, I think should have been in regardless of the product they would have put on the field without Jordan Travis, just because the committee could have stood their ground and said, guys, look, yeah, we agreed with you. It's probably not going to be a good game, but these are the requirements, that these are the marks, the benchmarks that we said had to be made. If you want it in, they met them, they're in. Alabama's 3 losses, SMU will have 3 losses. Alabama's 3rd loss was not in the conference championship game. SMU, I got to pick on this later. If they were to lose, their 3rd loss would be in the conference championship game. I think SMU deserves to be in over Alabama.
Oh, SMU only has 1 loss. They only have 1 loss.
Excuse me, 2nd loss. Yeah, their last loss would be in the
it was at BYU
championship game. And Alabama's got 3 losses. SMU's would have 2. So I'm going, to me, SMU's in. SMU should be in.
If SMU loses, I think they should be in over Alabama. I don't have confidence the committee would see it the same way. If SMU does win, you got 1 spot up for grabs, and they've basically said we're not moving teams that don't play. So they've put Alabama ahead of Miami and Ole Miss and South Carolina. Let's do a little preview of the conference championships. The biggest ones, there's 6 really that I consider. You got the Mountain West is Friday night at 7. Boise State, 4-point favorite over UNLV. You got Tulane and Army is American Athletic Championship Friday night as well. Tulane, 5-point favorite over Army. There's a common theme. All these are close spreads. Big 12, like I said, Arizona State, 2-point favorite over Iowa State. And then the afternoon one is Texas is a 2.5-point favorite over Georgia. The Big 10, Oregon, 3.5 over Penn State. And SMU in the ACC Championship, SMU -2 over Clemson. All of those are within, the biggest one of the Power 4. I mean, they're all 2.5. Well, Oregon's 3.5 over Penn State, but they're all basically right around that field goal range. Which one are you looking forward to watching the most this weekend conference championship game?
Honestly, all of them, man. I'm excited on Friday because I want to see, I think UNLV's got a real shot to win that game.
I do too.
I think this, Boise State's a really good football team. We know what the running back can do. Arguably Heisman Trophy winner. I think it goes to Travis Hunter, but
I do too.
You can make a great argument for Ashton Janney to win the Heisman, but I think UNLV, Barry Odom, they play tough. Boise State's going to have to execute to win that game. So really all of them. Army, Tulane. I'm sitting here going, okay, it's in West Point. And, let's see how that game's going to play out. Army could win. We could have like I said, one of the military academies in the playoffs. Like, how cool would that be? Tulane with the biggest spread of the weekend at 5. But Army keeps the ball away from them. They get that ground game going. Who knows? Oregon, I think that, golly, James Franklin, the Big 10 will be firing a coach, at least one this year. And it may be James Franklin after Saturday with the Oregon game, but all of them, like I said, all of them. The Texas-Georgia rematch, there's not one any in particular. It's one of those days, Trey, where it's just
going to be awesome.
Good day of football.
Because like I said, the spreads are all close. It should be one game after another of just good, hard-fought football. I'm super.
And here's the thing: I don't think they're going to end close.
No,
I think teams. I don't think it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game in any of these. I think they're going to pull away. But the exciting part to me is going to be who's going to do it and when are they going to execute? When is it going to happen? Is it going to be fought the whole way and 4th quarter something big happens, or is it going to be one of those? Vegas was wrong right out of the gate. I've got to pick on one later that I think they're wrong right out of the gate, and we'll see. But it's going to be a great weekend.
Turnovers play such a huge role. Like you take the first game between Texas, Georgia. Texas turned it over 4 times. The average starting field position for Georgia was like the Texas 30-yard line. They only moved the ball 1 drive on Texas's defense. So you see the number 30, Georgia put up 30. it wasn't because of Texas defense. Texas defense held them in check the entire game, except outside of one drive where Georgia actually had to drive the length of the field, and that was the touchdown that put it away. But Texas offensive line really struggled against Georgia in the first matchup. Quinn Ewers really struggled. If you don't remember, he got benched in the second quarter for Arch Manning. So Texas is going to have to play better up front and on the offensive side of the ball, and their defense just needs to be their defense. But I mean, Texas, we break down Texas, Georgia. Texas has been the more consistent team of the two for the entire length of the season. But I will say that game Georgia played against Texas, especially defensively, of the Georgia Texas, all the games they've played, that was the best game of either side has played, was that Georgia game. So Georgia's best at their complete best, it might be better than Texas. But the problem is Georgia's done that. They haven't done that a lot this season. That's why they got a couple of losses. But Texas has consistently been pretty solid, especially on defense all season long. So I think right now that's why Texas is favored, because they've been the more consistent team throughout the entire season. Because a lot of people see that and like, how is Texas favored? Georgia beat them. Well, that's why Texas has been more consistent. I think you can pretty much count on what you're going to get from Texas game in, game out. It's just Georgia, which Georgia's showing up. You would think the good one, because it's for the SEC championship. Something Kirby Smart, I think, has only done once. Because remember, he always lost to Nick Saban in the SEC championship.
Right.
I think he beat LSU a couple years ago for the SEC championship. I remember he lost last year to Alabama.
Yeah. And that was a wild upset. You know, and like I agree, Trey, it's going to be what Georgia defense shows up, what Texas offensive line shows up. We know you saw Banks get hurt.
Yep.
What is the update on Banks?
He's questionable. He's got a high ankle sprain. He's questionable. But I will say that's what's crazy. Banks is Texas' best offensive player. Left tackle is probably going to be the first tackle taken in the draft. He came out of the game and he didn't have any drop off. That goes to show the level of recruiting and development Sarkisian in Texas has had since he's taken over. You replace a first-round left tackle with a redshirt freshman, either a redshirt freshman or sophomore, and you don't really miss a beat. You didn't even notice. That left tackle, he's from Melissa, actually, right down the road from us. He did a phenomenal job his first time playing serious minutes.
And that's going to be the matchup I watch, because the first time they matched up, this Georgia defensive line looked unreal. They were so fast off the ball that Texas's offensive, I think that's when Banks gave up his first sack of the season.
He's only given up 2 sacks all season. Both of them were to Georgia.
Yeah, his first sack of the season in the Georgia game, because the defensive line was so quick off the snap. So that, to me, is my matchup. It's Texas's offensive line versus Georgia's defensive line. Because if Texas's offensive line can give Quinn Ewers time, I think the good Quinn Ewers is going to show up. Because Texas has too many athletes to guard for 3+ seconds. Now, Quinn Ewers is trying to run around and he's panicked. And I know it's easy to say, well, any quarterback, but there's some quarterbacks. Marcel Reed, one of them. And then I just lost his name, the guy at South Carolina. Those guys, you get them going.
Lenore Sellers.
Sellers, yes. Sellers, you get those guys under pressure, they can take off and go. They almost thrive underneath it.
Yep.
But you get Ewers spread up, that's where he doesn't get his feet set, the ball sails, and that's when the Georgia secondary can take advantage.
Watching Quinn Ewers as much as I've watched him over 3 years, contact and people in his face affects him. I mean, it does. He doesn't like pressure. And that was obvious in the Georgia game for sure. He doesn't do well under pressure. So if you're attacking him and he's feeling uncomfortable, like I said, his feet are a problem for him. He doesn't have a good base. Like, that's the first thing you'll notice about Quinn Ewers when he's uncomfortable. It's his feet. And so if Georgia can do that, it could look a lot like it did October 19th. But if Texas can block it up front, and also the Texas running game, when Travion Wisner had 156 2 weeks ago against Kentucky, had 186 last week against A&M. The Texas offensive line is finding their stride when it comes to running the football. And that's 2 really good defensive fronts that they were able to run the football against. So if Texas can run the ball, which they were not able to the first go around, they only averaged like 1.5 yards a carry against Georgia the first go around. Texas can run the ball. That'll help out Quinn Ewers a lot as well.
Yeah, I agree. Takes the pressure off of him, man. It keeps them from loading up the box and it keeps them from blitzing. Excuse me. They can still load the box, but you got to kind of be, you can't blitz and then let the running back through, kind of uncontested to the second level. So you're going to have to watch. So yeah, if Texas is able to get Wisner going, any of the running backs, if they're able to run the football like you said and get it going, that's going to take a lot of pressure off Quinn, and they're going to be able to hit all these athletes, stud tight end. They're going to be able to move the chains and really frustrate Georgia. And then on the defensive side of the ball, Carson Beck's learned. We said what he doesn't look like himself this year. What's he missing? Well, he's missing Brock Bowers.
Yeah,
right.
Is.
He threw Brock Bowers so much. Well, now he's figured out. Oh wait, I do have a tight end on the field. In these last couple games, he's really thrown the ball well to the tight end, and that's really how they move the chains and keep on the field, and they just wear you down. So if Texas, if they can take away the tight end, good luck. I mean, I don't know. I think Carson Beck is kind of the same way. He'll get sped up.
Yeah,
taller guy.
Well, he'll throw a lot of interceptions. He's very interception prone.
He'll try to force it, and I think that's where the secondary Texas can really take over. And,
also, Georgia receiving core leads the SEC in drop passes, and their top two I know their top running back, he's questionable. Trevor Etienne, he's questionable. Not sure if he's going to go. They also have another running back, but I think that might be their third string running back. He's also questionable. So we'll see what weapons Georgia has on offense. It's going to be a great day of college football, one game after another. Here's a crazy stat, Jimmy, of the Power Four conferences, the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, Big 12. There's a chance that a new member first year in the conference and each one of those conferences can win the conference championship. You have Texas first year in the SEC, Oregon's first year in the Big Ten, SMU's first year in the ACC, and Arizona State's first year in the Big 12. That's a pretty crazy stat. You could have all brand new teams winning conferences in their first year.
Yep, and depending on how you look at it, you go, okay, these conferences are all weak, or you look at the caliber of teams, you're going, oh, these teams are just better than everybody thought. I don't know. I think it depends on case-by-case basis. I think SMU, Texas. I've never been that high on the Big Ten. I think
Oregon's pretty good, though.
I think Oregon is too, and I think they're the most dynamic offense I think the Big Ten's seen in a while.
Yep,
and
I agree.
So I think that attributes a lot to their success, and that's what I was going to say is the Big Ten was a prolific offense away from one team just kind of running away with it, and that's what I think we're seeing here with Oregon. Arizona State and outperforming expectations. So I mean, again, another layer that makes it exciting. And something, Trey, something that it might be a sore subject with Longhorn fans. Texas without probably one of its biggest weapons this Saturday is Bevo. Bevo broke earlier. Bevo will not be allowed in Atlanta this weekend, nor will he be allowed in the national championship game.
It's also at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yeah.
Rumors are happening. How do the Longhorns fare without Bevo?
I mean, there's rumors flying around that Uga, he got a petition going and got enough signatures to ban the big guy.
Rebely signed it.
Yeah. So, Uga got all the conference mascots on board there. So yeah, just fuel to the fire. We'll see what happens. Bevo, I'm sure we'll watch it.
If I was Texas, I'd put a little sticker. Put a little Bevo sticker on my helmet. I'd be like, we're winning this one for Bevo.
This one's for Bevo. For Bevo. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, not a lot of NFL to get to. We'll probably skip that and get right to our picks. Run out of time here. It's huge weekend in college football, championship weekend. Let's get into our picks. Hasn't been the best year for us on our picks. We still got some time left. College conference championship weekend. Plus, we'll have bowl games, and also NFL still got 5 weeks left. So we got a chance to turn it around. I'm at 48% of the season. Jimmy, 47%. So we got a chance. I got 4 college and 3 NFL.
I got 4 and 4.
Okay. All right, I'll start it off. I got 2 Friday games. Going the Mountain West game, UNLV, Boise State. I'm going to go over 57, UNLV, Boise State. UNLV held Ashton Jeanty to his lowest yards per carry all season when they played earlier, held him to 4 yards per carry. I think Boise State will have some answers. If you remember that first game, quarterback Maddox had a really big game, played well. I think UNLV, they had some turnovers. I don't think they'll turn over as much. That was in the low 50s. I think this is going to play in the 60s. I see like a 31-24 type of game, or excuse me, like a 31-28 type of game, which would get us over. Or both team, maybe 34-31, something to that effect. So I like UNLV, Boise State over 57.
Nice. I'm starting out with an over as well. Clemson SMU. Give me the over. The Ponies, I think the Ponies have a really good shot. I like them playing Clemson better than I do Miami. For SMU, I'm rooting for SMU. We got a couple buddies went to SMU.
Absolutely.
I'm rooting for the Ponies, and I think the over hits here, over 55. And I think SMU is going to win this game, but officially on the show, I'm taking over 55, SMU Clemson.
Another Friday game, Tulane -5 over Army. I know it's at Army, but here's the stat that I'm pulling this Tulane bet from. The last 5 times Tulane's played a service academy, they've held them to 9 points or less. 9 or less. So Tulane -5, assuming they can score 14 and they can hold Army to 9 or less, they'll cover. Give me Tulane -5.
I like it. I'm going to stay with this game too. Give me over 45.
Well, ooh,
Me, I think Tulane, it kind of goes a little bit against your stat.
yeah,
But I think Army's playing really good and Tulane's playing really good football, both
they both
offensively.
are.
I think it's in West Point. I think Army's going to be ready to play. I think Tulane's going to have to score almost every time they get the ball because Army, we know what they can do on the ground. They can keep your offense on the side for a long time. So to me, I think the total, I think 45, they may barely get over it, but I think it gets over. It'll be one of those, you bet the under, you'll be in the fourth quarter going, please, 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 and then it'll break open. Let's be on the other side of that and give me over 45.
All right. Yeah, that's a low number. All right, I'm going to Saturday. Georgia, Texas. I'm going to go under 50. The last 3 games Texas has played, it's all been under 50. The Texas defense is playing at an elite level. They're playing some great football. Texas offense lately, I mean, you saw it against A&M. They're starting to be like the Alabama of old. They get 17-point lead, and then they just shut it down and try to play ball control offense. Of course, they had the pick 6 that hurt them and then the block punt. But I mean, that's kind of Texas brand of football. Get a lead, play great defense, and then just chew up the clock. I think you'll see that here with Texas's defense. And if Georgia's defense causes so much problems for Quinn Ewers again, I think we'll have an under 50. So Georgia, Texas, under 50.
I like it. Same game. Give me Texas -2.5. I think Texas figures out a way to win the SEC in their first year. They're in the conference championship. They're the better team all year long. The whole body of work, Texas is better than Georgia. I know Georgia beat them the last time. All that does is put on film things for Texas to work on, and I think Texas gets it done. So give me Texas covering 2.5 in the SEC championship game.
All right, mine's kind of next one's an off-the-wall game. It's the Sun Belt Championship, Marshall, Louisiana. Louisiana's favored by 6, but I'm going to take the Thundering Herd +6. Marshall's won 5 in a row. Louisiana has looked good for the most part, but they'll have a game where they'll just have put up a clunker like they did against South Alabama. I think Marshall sneaks up on them. I think it'll be a close game either way. So give me Marshall plus the points, Marshall +6.
I like it. We are Marshall. My last one, Penn State, Oregon. Oregon -3. This one, I think Vegas got too low. I think this one's going to be over right out of the gate. And I think James Franklin will not be the coach at Penn State next year. Ryan Day, they're already mad enough to let him go, but the guy can recruit. James Franklin, I don't know what his excuse is. Oregon -3 in a blowout win, and James Franklin may not be at Penn State next year.
Okay, NFL games. We got Seahawks, Cardinals. I think both offenses are playing well. 44 is a low enough number. I think they get over that. I'll take Seahawks, Cardinals over 44 on Sunday.
Chargers, Chiefs under 43. Kansas City, I think they saved their best football for the playoffs. The Chargers offense has not looked the same this year. Dobbins is out. I think this one's just the under 43.
I like that. I'm going to kind of piggyback off that. Chiefs played more close games than anybody in the NFL. The number's 4. Chiefs are favored by 4. I think this is Sunday night. I'm going to take Chargers +4. Either Chargers get the outright win or they keep it to a field goal. I like Chargers +4.
All right. Next one, Browns and Steelers. Give me over 43. We saw Cleveland and Denver. I'm telling you, man, that was a shootout. Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be pretty good. Famous Jameis. He's got the Browns believing. Jerry Jeudy had a big game in his return to Denver. Steelers, man, dude. All of a sudden, Russell Wilson's back.
He's back. Found him an offense.
They're throwing the ball well. I mean, if they can keep Pickens from fighting dudes, I think they're going to be fine, which 43 to me, too low of a number. I think it's too many for the Chargers and Chiefs, but it's not enough for Steelers and Browns. So give me over 43.
All right, my last one, Monday night. Cowboys hosting the Bengals. Both teams are a wreck. The Bengals probably look like the better team, but they find ways to lose every week. I think 5's too much. Cowboys could win outright, or they keep it to a field goal. I'll take the Cowboys +5 Monday night.
I like it. My third, Saints Giants. Two teams that are terrible. Under 41. 41's a low number, but this game score is going to be even lower. Give me Saints and Giants under 41, and I'm going to match you on your Cowboys Bengals. Cowboys +5. You're in one of two boats if you're a Cowboys fan. You're either in the I don't care, I want to win every game on the schedule and we win, or you're in the we are shooting ourselves in the foot in the draft.
Yeah, let's mess some stuff up.
And I said, now I'm in the we should be tanking, let's get draft position. I said, but you know what'll happen, because it's the most Cowboys thing to do, is we're going to win some games. We were talented enough on paper to do it. We saw us beat Washington. You knew we'd beat New York. And I think +5 is too many. It wouldn't surprise me if it got up a little more. So give me Cowboys +5.
Love it. All right, here's a rundown of our bets. We'll start with Jimmy's bets. College, he's got Clemson SMU over 55, Tulane Army over 45, Texas -2.5, Oregon -3. And in NFL, he's got Chargers and Chiefs under 43, Browns Steelers over 43, Saints and the Giants under 41, and Cowboys +5 Monday night. Myself, I got UNLV Boise State over 57, Tulane -5. And then on Saturday, Georgia and Texas under 50 and Marshall +6. NFL bets, I got Seahawks Cardinals over 44, Chargers +4. And I agree with Jimmy, Monday night, Cowboys +5. That's our show. Like, comment, subscribe. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And check us out. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back next week. Wrapped up college football championship weekend and also look at the playoff. We're only 2 weeks away from the first round of playoffs. So we got a lot of football going on. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week. Hook 'em horns. See you, Jimmy.
See you, buddy.